I'm lost in darkness, searching for light. Every step forward feels like a fight. Shadows of doubt creep in my mind, but I refuse to surrender. I must find a way to rise above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. The weight of the world crushes me down. Fear and uncertainty all around. But I deep find inner strength to face the trials length by length. A way to rise above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. Through every storm, I'll find my way. Through every night, a brighter day. I'll rise from ashes, like a phoenix born. My spirit unbroken, my heart reborn. I've walked through fire and emerged scarred, but wiser, stronger, and unmarred. My existence is a test of will, of trials overcome, of a soul made bold. The weight of the world above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. Oh, made bold. Through every storm, I'll find my way. Through every night, a brighter day. I'll rise from ashes like a phoenix born. My spirit unbroken, my spirit unborn. I'm lost in darkness, searching for light. Day to day, nothing changes. All I want is a moment to think clearly, but thoughts come unrelenting, consuming every waking moment. My mind binds me and I can't escape. I shout for help, no one hears me. One day I feel I'll just disappear. Lost in this chaos, I'm searching for.
Hey, greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to the Dirt Sheet Radio NXT Post-Show Rewind for July the 1st, 2025. My goodness, where did June even go? Guys, I am back. I am live here with y'all tonight. Me, little Molly Holly, the long-haired chihuahua with me as always. Going to be flying solo with y'all this evening, so I appreciate you guys tuning in live and watching on demand, of course, if that's the way you're doing it. We're here to talk about NXT. It was a pre-taped show. Molly, right? It was a pre-taped show. But nonetheless, I avoided spoilers, so pretty proud of that. And so we've got a lot to talk about, guys. A lot of movement towards the Great American Bash, some developments for Evolution, not Evolve. Goodness, Evolve is the Wednesday night show. totally different thing. But yeah, guys, we are here to talk NXT. And before we can get into it, I, of course, have to give the shout out to the us on the web. That is dirtsheetradio.com for all your professional wrestling, entertainment, pop culture needs. Check it out. Make it your homepage. Look at it multiple times a day, just like we do. Not because we're legally obligated, but because we love to do it. And thank you, Wednesday. Celeste running in for that plug. But Molly, you gonna go that way now? Okay. But guys, we're here to talk NXT. As much as I, love to just put all the animals on stream, and I'm sure that's why some of you actually tune in. But we have a lot to cover and a lot to get through here tonight. We, as I said, we were pre-recorded last week. Similar, they recorded SmackDown last night after Raw, trying to give the talent the rest of the week off, especially after that, turn and burn coming back from Saudi. But yeah, giving them the holiday off and the rest of the week off after, I guess after Monday. So the NXT crew have been off for a minute. But anyway, actually, I think to be completely fair, I do know that NXT ran some house shows over the weekend, so they haven't been off since last Tuesday, but they are off for the remainder of the week. But yeah, guys, great show we had tonight coming from the Performance Center. Can't say coming live from the Performance Center, but coming from the Performance Center. And we had a few matches announced ahead of time. We had Hendry and Wes Lee one-on-one. Yoshiki and Inamura and Jasper Troy with the winner becoming the number one contender for that NXT Championship, getting that shot at the Great American Bash. And the newly freed of the No Quarter Catch crew, Myles Borne, taking on the television star Lexis King. So not a lot announced ahead of time. Almost, the antithesis of last week's card being predominantly, or 2 weeks ago, being predominantly women. Last week, I do apologize, guys. There was no show last week. There was a lot going on, but yeah, so not a whole lot announced ahead of time, which is indicative of being a pre-recorded show. But so we opened up with a kind of lengthy recap of last week's episode of NXT, which, again, pre-recorded show. I guess they needed to fill like 60 extra seconds, so the recap was the way to do that. But this recap did feel a bit longer than normal because they kind of ran the entirety of last week's show briefly. Mostly, the big points, but they hit on a lot more matches and programs than they typically would there. Yeah. Yeah, it's shaping up to be a fun card. I mean, my goodness, that weekend is just going to be so jam packed with wrestling. Oh, goodness gracious! We'll have the Bash, but Saturday night's main event, Evolution, and there's a pretty substantial AEW show that weekend as well, right? So it's gonna be a big weekend. It's all in Texas, guys. I'm being coy here. Y'all know me. I'm far from tribalistic, but I like to have fun. Anyway, back into the show here as we get started. We opened up immediately with Wes Lee. Actually, not Wes. Actually, first Trick made his way to the ring, all oiled up, as Booker T pointed out. Of course, shouting, whoop that Trick. Oh, yeah, man, he likes it. I want to say, just for the record, that week in and week out, I can hear my wife rolling her eyes at Booker T's commentary during Trick's entrance every single week. Just want to point that out there. But Trick made his way out there, and he was out there to do some commentary, to hang out at the table with Vic, Book, and Corey. And so after Trick made his way out, we had Wes Lee come out, and then, of course, Hendry. You say his name, and he appears. Actually, I don't know that his name was said prior to appearing here tonight, but it was pre-booked. But we got Hendry and Wes Lee in tonight's opening match. Solid work. Hendry and I'm not the first person to say this, Joe is an amazing character worker. He obviously has the audience eating out of the palm of his hand every single time he appears. But he's not the world's greatest in-ring technician. He's good. He's a good wrestler. He's just not like, 5-star match in Japan good. Excuse me. So having him in here with someone like Wes, always a good thing. Wes can create a little bit more movement, sell his ass off for Joe. And that's what he did here. And like I said, solid match from start to finish. Joe Hendry gets the win here, which is to be expected, as he's in a high-profile feud with Trick Williams in TNA at the moment. So after the match here, we had both Mike Santana and Joe Hendry staring down Trick Williams as they will be in a triple threat for that TNA Championship coming up soon. Also worth mentioning here that the High Rise, well, I should say the other members of the High Rise, Tyson and Tyreek, they did attempt to get involved in this match a couple times, and that is what brought Mike Santana down to the ring towards the end of the match to kind of help even the odds and nullify them as a factor. Which, of course, I think also, it's a good visual. It establishes that without that, the High Rise probably would have led to Wes winning. But with the High Rise taken out of the equation, the good guy wins. So, good storytelling here. So, yeah, that triple threat should be interesting, too. I'm sure you guys will hear more about that upcoming on Thursday. But yeah, so good opener here. set the pace, set the tone. And you could tell that, again, this was the second episode they recorded. The crowd wasn't as hot for these entrances as you think they would be. Considering how over, Trick Williams or Joe Hendry or, Wes, Mike's, all of them really, but especially the pops that the entrances of Trick Williams and Joe Hendry typically get. They seemed a bit subdued here, but again, that's just, what happens when you record more than one episode in a row. These are the breaks, guys. These are the breaks. From there we excuse me. The pollen count is pretty rough here in parts unknown Ohio, so I apologize for the phlegm. We cut to a segment from earlier today backstage where we had Zaria, Sol Ruka speaking with Tatum Paxley, and they were trying to convince Tatum that they're her actual friends, but she wasn't really hearing it. And Zaria told her, you know what, go ahead and believe all this nonsense from Izzy Dame and the Culling if that's what you want to do. So I guess, they tried to fight for her soul last week, snatching her away from the Culling and taking her back to the backstage area. But I guess after a week of being in her ear and trying to deprogram her, I guess, even though she hasn't really been that programmed by the Culling or the information bush, as I like to call them. But yeah, I guess Zaria is just tired of it, tired of trying. And she said, just, go hang out with the Culling if you want. And that set up for a tag match that we would have later tonight. Ahead of the break, they showed Luca Crucifino walking towards the ring area as he was going to come out and speak the truth about where his allegiances are, and just kind of clear the air with Tony D after everything that happened with the Heritage Cup last week. But so coming back from the break, we had Luca in the ring, and he gets a mic, and he calls Tony D out right now because he said he wants to put this whole situation to bed. And out comes Tony D, and he's a little, I don't know, a little bemused, a little besmirched, perhaps even, that his consigliere was calling him out. That's not really the way this works. And, Lucas says, to Tony that he thinks everyone's out to get him. Tony says, yeah, you're absolutely right. And he tells him that he's not out to get him. But he said, yeah, but Tony tells Luca that you cost me the match last week. You cost me becoming a 2-time Heritage Cup champion. And they're starting to, quibble back and forth here. And this brings out the current and reigning Heritage Cup champion, Channing Stacks Lorenzo, the man that calls himself the Don of NXT now. That is up for debate. And he gets in the ring, and the three of them, jaw and bicker back and forth, and this all led up to Luca Crucifino cold cocking Tony D'Angelo and laying him out, and this brought a smile to the face of Channing. He was on board with this, and then Luca lays Stacks out just as well, and Luca says that his loyalties lie with Luca Crucifino. And he takes his leave there after. So I guess the family's done. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that Channing Stacks Lorenzo has a new family per se. He has some goons in white shirts that follow him around. But the family's done. I mean, Luca's out. I mean, God knows where Adriana Rizzo is. I mean, she's presumably safe somewhere, but she's not been on TV God, about a month. So, Tony's all by himself. So there is no family. He's the Don of nothing. Even if Channing isn't the true Don of NXT, if you don't want to think that he is, Tony has nobody left. So I don't know what this means for Tony D. I don't know if they're maybe looking to actually elevate him up to the main roster, either with this gimmick or some sort of change. But I don't know what's left for him in NXT at this point. I guess they could still, run with him and Channing feuding, maybe over the Heritage Cup. They can get a little bit, more juice out of that lemon. But, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I feel like that's it for the family. And if there's no family, there's really not a lot for Tony D at NXT. But we will see. As always, time will tell as we move forward. And what has been the greatest professional wrestling mob story ever told, just the fact that they've killed people off canonically in the family storyline over the years. It's it's something else. It really is. Oh God. But let's see. Sorry, I lost my place there. Okay, so let's see. Sorry, guys. Checking my notes here. So from there, we went backstage and we had a quick interview with Obafemi. And he says that he understands why the fans have become so enamored with Yoshiki and Inamura. And he states that Jasper Troy, he was a mountain to overcome, but he's interested to see who wins between these two. I like the way that Obafemi frames a lot of his opponents and potential opponents. He doesn't really demean them in the same way that a champion, like Gunther does. Not that he's not mean or cruel from time to time, but he really is about the spirit of competition. Oba's not really a heel. I know he does some, mean things from time to time, but he's pretty honorable in his way. Always talking up his opponents, respecting their, warrior spirit, and that's what he was speaking to here. That's the opponent he wants. He wants to face people that have that warrior spirit, that same drive that has, pushed Obafemi to where he is in NXT. So, and I like that. It's always a nice touch to have the champion commenting on, the vying of the number one contendership. It just makes it seem more important, adds that little extra touch of realism. I'm always here for that. So, but while Oba's talking here, up comes Yoshiki and Josh Briggs, and Inamura tells Oba that he's going to win. And I like this. Like I said, I enjoy plugging the matches ahead of time. This was tonight's main event match. The main event segment was a segment. We'll get there when we get there. But I dug this. I thought it was a good use of the time. And Yoshiki tells Oba that he can't wait to see him at the Great American Bash. And from there, we had Lexis King making his entrance ahead of the break. And they talked about this on commentary a bit. I'm going to comment on it as well. Lexis King's been off TV for a minute, and he has come back slimmed down. He is toned. He is ready to rock and roll, strut and stroll. The television star Lexis King, in his time away, was apparently hitting the gym pretty hard there. So again, they made note of it on commentary. I'm going to make note of it here as well. Coming back from commercial, we had Myles Borne making his way to the ring. Myles had some shiny new entrance music tonight. As Def Rebel jams go, not bad. They've done far worse. So this was actually pretty solid. It was eye catching is not the word. I guess ear catching would be what I'm looking for here. But it works. It was not permanent, but for NXT, it's passable for him. But all right. So underway, we had Lexis King and Myles Borne here. They put on a pretty solid match here. Some good chain wrestling, good solid action. I've said this about Lexis in the past, and I'll say it here tonight. He has continued to improve. He's come a long way in 18 months, and he looks a lot better now than he did then. They still haven't quite found the best use of his character, but they're getting there. They're getting there. Also, new gear for Lexis. If you notice, there he is in trunks, not pants. Here. I think this probably goes without saying, but this match was not Lexis King's to win. Myles Borne's going to be on a tear, breaking away from the no quarter catch crew, having, received a NXT title shot recently. He is definitely on the rise, and they're going to have him racking up some wins until they get him into, a more substantial program here. But yeah, he won with a zigzag. Which interesting. All right. Why not, I guess. They even called it a zigzag on commentary. So, right on. I can get behind that. All right. From there, we had a Dark State promo because this is all Dark State does. They cut promos from poorly lit parking lots. You know what? If that's how poorly lit the NXT parking lot is, I think I understand why they have the problems that they have. It has to be some sort of like OSHA violation or something. I don't know. But they cut a Dark State promo, talking about how they're responsible for all the chaos that happens at NXT. Nothing goes on without their consent, without their approval. I don't know, guys. Sometimes they have these stables that they really kick off super strong. They cause a lot of damage. They're just, wrecking shop, running everybody through. And then there's just not great follow-up with it. And then they're just gone for some reason. And it's a stutter stop. A similar thing happened with the Wide Six, but I feel like that's kind of what happened with. That's kind of what's happened with Dark State here. They had a lot of momentum and a lot of steam coming from their debut, but being off television as much as they are and have been, it's not a good look for them, which is unfortunate. I think that's really kind of hurt the gimmick and the mystique of them. But all right, but from there and ahead of the break, we had Thea Hale, who is in fact a grown-ass woman. She made her way to the ring as we cut to a commercial break. And then coming back from the break, we had Lainey Reed make her way to the ring for this one-on-one match. Gotta say, again, I talk about entrance music a lot because there's not a lot of good entrance music these days. I like Lainey Reed's. I think it fits her character very well. It's got the mandolin, got the fiddle. It's good. I dig it. Her kind of heelish Southern gal character is a little similar to Fallon Henley, but I guess Fallon's differentiated enough from her association with Fatal Influence. But anyway, but the theme song though, I like it quite a bit. This was a good match. I have spoken very highly of Thea Hale for a very long time on this program, and I'll say it again. Thea Hale is great, but Lainey Reed's she's a little dynamo. Like she looked good here tonight. They put on a solid back and forth match, and Lainey at one point in the match, she's going for a pin, tries to get her feet on the ropes. Referee catches it. Good job, ref. Good job. Then, not too long later, Blaney goes for another pin, grabs the rope this time to leverage the pin, and Thea Hale's arm is also under the rope. The referee misses both of these things, and Lainey Reed gets the 1-2-3 and steals a win here tonight. And then I think plays the world's smallest violin to mock Thea Hale. Pretty sure that's what she's doing there. Yeah, I'm all for this. You know what? Give me a TV program with, Lainey and Thea trading some wins back and forth here. I'm all for it. I like that they had a heel cheat. It's and multiple times, failed attempted cheating and then goes for it again and actually succeeds. It doesn't speak highly of the referee, though. Missing both the hand on the rope and an arm under it, but what are you going to do, Lainey the winner here tonight, guys. All right. So I think from there, going into the commercial, we had Sol Ruka and Zaria making their way to the ring for their tag match against Izzy Dame and Tatum Paxley. But then NXT did that thing that they do that I'm not a big fan of, but I don't book it, so they're going to keep doing it. We came back from break and didn't go straight into this match. We instead went to a Jasper Troy promo, and he just, excuse me, just talked about how he was going to beat Yoshiki Inamura and then go to the Great American Bash and face Obafemi and win the NXT Championship. I don't know if that's going to happen for him, but we'll see. We'll get there when we get there. All right. So back into the NXT arena, we had Izzy Dame and Tatum Paxley with the information bush, or the culling as they are actually called. They made their way to the ring, and I gotta say, guys, Tatum fits the aesthetic of the culling very, very well. I know that part of the story here is they're taking advantage of a vulnerable and sad and lonely Tatum Paxley, but she really does fit the aesthetic very well here. I can't say enough good things about this match. I thought this was just solid work from start to finish. They gave them a lot of time here. I was originally irritated that Sol Ruka and Zaria were kind of just thumped into a tag team. But I really can't complain about it at this point. I think that they work really, really well together. They have some really cool tandem moves between Zaria's just power base and Sol's acrobatic ability. They work really, really well together as a cohesive unit. And I know eventually they're going to split them up and feud them because that's what we do. But I thought they worked really well together. That being said, Tatum Paxley and Izzy Dame were a hell of a tag team here tonight, too. A lot of, again, good tandem action from them, solid in-ring work. And at the end of the day, Tatum Paxley gets the win for her team. She saved Izzy at one point. Izzy was about to get speared by Zaria, and she just tackled Izzy out of the way, and Sol Ruka ate that spear from Zaria, and that led to the finish. There was that miscommunication there that led to the finish, but Tatum Paxley pinning Sol Ruka, getting the win for her team. The information bush thrilled, with their potential new member here, getting the win for the team, holding Tatum high. Tatum's so happy that she has friends. I don't know, guys. I think they might be taking advantage of Tatum Paxley, and she's just sweet. She just wants friends. But like I said, this might have been This might have been the best match of the night. It's all opinion. But for me, this might have been match of the night. This was just a lot of fun. I love tandem tag moves. So when I could see a bunch of them in one match, I'm going to be very happy about it. But yeah, I might have missed a segment earlier, so I'm going to just pop over to it real quick. We have the No Quarter Catch crew backstage. Well, what is left of the No Quarter Catch crew? It's Ren, Charlie, and Tavion at this point. But Tavion was saying that it wasn't really fair that he had to compete under that mask last week. That hindered him a bit. And Charlie was basically saying, well, this means that clearly you still need to be with the No Quarter Catch crew. You're not ready to fly on your own. And Tavion said he wants the same deal that Myles got. He wants to face Charlie, and if he can beat him, then he gets to leave the No Quarter Catch crew, and he can do what he wants. I'm very confused as to how Charlie Dempsey has people locked into this team. Like I must have missed the segment all these months ago where you sign a blood oath of loyalty to the No Quarter Catch crew, and you can only leave if Charlie says so. But okay, it's pro wrestling. I shouldn't complain. I really shouldn't. But all right, so back to where we were there at the end of that fantastic tag match. We popped backstage to where we had, oh my goodness, this never ends between Ricky and Ethan. It just keeps going and going. These two really do not like each other. Do not like each other at all. But Ethan Page had the Vanity Project with him. Ava's just trying to keep everything civil here, and she really can't. There's bickering, there's yelling. Ricky Saints' voice is still all kinds of raspy from getting shellacked in the throat there. But Paige says that moving forward, when it comes to the North American Championship, he, as the champion, is going to dictate what happens and who gets shots and whatnot. And he says that if Ricky can beat the Vanity Project in a gauntlet match, then he can get a shot at the North American Championship. So Ava makes it official, and next week we're going to get a gauntlet match. Ricky Saints taking on the Vanity Project, which I'm pretty psyched about. I think that's going to be really good. The Vanity Project, Swipe Right tag team that joined into the Vanity Project. They can move. They can sell. God, was that a couple of months ago now? Probably when Swipe Right appeared on that tag team contendership gauntlet, and was the gauntlet? God, it all blows together, guys. But regardless, they made the most of the 4.5-5 minutes they had, and they made a great impression on me, and I think a lot of other people. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them get a little more time on NXT television next week. Obviously, I think Ricky's going to tear through him and get his way back to that North American Championship shot. But I guess we'll see, though. Maybe not. All right. So from there, we went to commercial. And coming back from commercial, we had a spotlight segment from a auto insurer that I'm not going to say the name of because they paid WWE for that sponsorship, not us. So a sponsored segment about my favorite academic institution of higher learning, Chase U. And here we had Chase, when I say Chase, this is Andre Chase, talking about how, he's apologetic. He's remorseful. He feels badly for his behaviors. And that maybe it's time for this old dog to learn some new tricks. And that tough love is all that he's known. And that's what he's relied on. But he's been shown that, maybe there's another way, a way that he can, teach and instruct more calmly and without being so demeaning to his students. And he apologizes, and he tells Kale Dixon that he's got him a singles match next week. He's going to be in his corner. And It was great. It was great. They they had Uriah Conners quietly telling Mr. Chase that he's been toxic with his behavior and he needs to change that. It was a fun segment. I always enjoy the Chase U bits here. Um, but yeah, and Andre still does cut loose. But Uriah explains to Mr. Chase that he can curse and yell and be mean as long as it's directed at the opponents, not the students. So it was a good segment. So yeah, so next week Kale Dixon will have a singles match. So we'll see how that goes for Kale if the tutelage of Andre Chase can get him a singles victory. I think the last time Kale Dixon had a singles match on NXT television, it was against Trick Williams, and he lost in about 4 seconds. I'm counting the 3 count in that time, so it was swift and horrid for him. Oh goodness gracious! Alrighty, so back to the backstage, we had Joe Hendry and Mike Santana being interviewed. They they agreed that they needed to work together to fight against the High Rise next week, and that also they were both invested in the same goal of bringing the TNA World Heavyweight Championship back to TNA and away from Trick Williams. And yeah, they're both united in that goal, but they both do believe that they will be the one to do it. So we'll see how that triple threat goes coming up. But all right, so from there, staying in the locker room region, we had Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura, and Briggs was getting Inamura all hyped up for that contendership match against Jasper Troy coming up, and yeah, he was getting him all revved up, ready to roll, and he's like, "All right, let's go." And Inamura stopped him and said, "We'll do it on my own. You stay here." And Inamura went out there to face Jasper Troy by himself. Um, that's a choice. That's a choice. Shows a lot of is it bravery or stupidity? We'll find out. But before we get to excuse me, before we get to that match there, we had Jasper Troy make his entrance, and then went to the break because that's what we do, and we got a segment backstage. We had Tatum and her new friends, the information bush, the calling. They were all smiles and being happy, hitting each other with congratulations. And in comes Ava and tells Izzy that, tells Izzy and Tatum that since Tatum pinned Sol, she would be getting a title shot against, Tatum. She tells Tatum that since she pinned Sol in the tag match, because this is how we establish in singles title shots now. Since she pinned Sol, she would be getting a title opportunity at the Great American Bash. So yeah, we're going to get Sol Ruka and Tatum Paxley for the Women's North American Championship. That's I'm all for that. That's I don't know. I could see them doing something where they have her win. They have her win here. I have enjoyed Sol Ruka as the North American champion, but they haven't really done a whole lot with it. I feel like the bulk of her reign has really been more about her friendship with Zaria than anything else, which is an odd way to tell a story with a singles champion, but that's where we've been. So I wouldn't hate that. If they went that route and had Tatum get that championship, they could use that to further manipulate Tatum. You got this championship because we helped you. You finally got the shiny bauble. They've established prior that Tatum Paxley is obsessed with championship belts. Not quite as obsessed as she is with her dolls, but pretty close. It's a pretty close second. But that wasn't all that happened during this segment. Very angrily coming in is Hank and Tank, all accusations saying that they know it was the Culling that attacked them and left them laying. They bickered back and forth. And long story short here, this led to them putting the titles on the line next week against Nico Vance and Sean Spears. So, next week for the Tag Team Championship, we're going to get Hank and Tank defending against the Culling. Again, I absolutely love Hank and Tank, but they have not done much with them at all since winning these tag team championships. It was a big hullabaloo when they beat Fraxium for those belts. People were psyched, but unfortunately, they haven't done a whole heck of a lot with it. So again, if they're going to start putting a lot of momentum behind the Culling, I could see them doing this. I could see Sean Spears and Nico Vance winning those championships. Time will tell. Maybe not, but I could absolutely see that scenario taking place. Again, just in large part because what have they really been doing with Hank and Tank since they won these belts? But yes, we get that match next week. Also announced for next week, obviously the Gauntlet match with the Vanity Project taking on Ricky Saints. Also, as mentioned, we have Joe Hendry and Mike Santana taking on the High Rise, Tyson and Tyreek. And then also, wrong picture, clicking around. Charlie Dempsey will be taking on Tavion Heights. And if Tavion wins, he is permitted to leave the No Quarter Catch crew. Again, I already explained why I think this is kind of weird, but them's the breaks. That's what's happening. But all right, to our main event match, Jasper Troy and Yoshiki and Inamura, number one contendership for the NXT Championship on the line here, and they put on a solid match. Yoshiki Inamura has such a good, just physical presence in the ring. He's not the tallest dude, but he's just kind of like a bulldog in there. Like you feel like not only can he absorb a hit, he can absolutely lay one out. He's got just a good center of gravity, and his lariats especially are just very physical and very believable. Jasper did well here. Um, I think that in some of his longer form matches, Jasper's greenness does show a little bit more. I think it showed a little bit more here than it did when he was tangling with Obafemi, which maybe speaks for Oba's ability to cover that a little more than Inamura here. But regardless, the two put on a solid main event here. And honestly, guys, I assumed going into this that they were going to go the Jasper Troy route here, but shocker of shocks, and I honestly think in a bit of an upset here, Yoshiki Inamura, much to my delight, wins the match 1-2-3, and he's the number one contender. He's going to be facing Obafemi for the NXT Championship at the Great American Bash. Jasper looks so angry there in the background. I'm going to be mad if they have Jasper just, muck this up and ruin the match at the Bash. I don't want that to happen. I want a good, clean fight between Obafemi and Inamura, because I just think it can be so physical and so hard hitting. And, I say this a lot when it comes to matches with Obafemi. But this might be one that, management is going to be watching more closely. Oba is not only the NXT champion. I feel like Oba is a meter stick. He is a test. He's a litmus. They put people up against Obafemi when they want to see what they're capable of. Word on the interwebs is that's oh my goodness, his name just fell right out of my head. Not Riley Osborne. The MVP of Chase U. Oh my gosh. I feel so terrible that I forgot his name. It's getting late here on the East Coast, guys. But Rich, God, no, not Ridge. Ridge he feuded with Ridge. This is anybody in the chat if you could remember Duke Hudson, there we are, Duke Hudson. Because word on the street when was that Duke Hudson's match with Obafemi wasn't is as impressive to management and the higher ups as it was to me, I guess. And that was a large part of why they chose to release him, was because they didn't think he looked great in there with Oba. And I think that, part of Myles Borne's continued push is going to be because of how well he did in that match with Oba. And again, I think how well, Inamura looks against Oba will probably determine the direction that he takes as a wrestler in NXT. I'm looking forward to it, though. I think they're going to put on a fantastic match. I do not expect Yoshiki Inamura to become NXT champion, but I do expect a really, really solid physical match between the two of them. So after the match, as uh, Inamura and Oba were kind of staring one another down there, as you can see in the background there, that is Javon Evans creeping into the ring to jump Jasper Troy. So yeah, I guess we're going to get continuing program with Javon and Jasper as well. So good stuff. Good, solid, solid work all around here. But all right, so coming back from the commercial break, we have the commentary team hyping up next week's program. Hey, everything pro wrestling! It's Tuesday night. It's NXT. It's my favorite night of the week. It's just me and little Molly Holly here talking wrestling with everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I always appreciate it. But But yeah, so the commentary, Vic, Book, and Corey were running down next week's show. Again, as I said, we've got on the card the Gauntlet match, Tag Team Championship match, the Mike Santana and Joe Hendry against the High Rise and Dempsey and Tavion. So they ran that down, and that took us into our main event segment. Jordan Grace had some scheduled promo time. That was advertised earlier in the night, and she came out. She came out to be honest with the crowd, and to do something that she said is one of the most difficult things for her, and that is to be vulnerable. And she cut a pretty impassioned promo here, talking about her journey getting to NXT, and how close she's gotten to that championship so many times, and how walking into Evolution, it's not just a big and storied event for WWE, but it's also a huge deal for women's wrestling, and she's ready to make history. And yeah, she was cutting. I think she's good on the mic. I've had some people come at me online, arguing with me that she's not as good as I think she is, but I think that when given the opportunity, she can be as she said, vulnerable, very real here. So, as she's continuing this impassioned promo, she is cut off by JC Jane and the rest of Fatal Influence, Jasmine Nix and Fallon Henley. And they make their way down to the ring, and JC and Jordan share some unkind words, as to be expected here, and as also to be expected. This busted down to fisticuffs pretty quickly. There was a quick brawl, and before the numbers game could really get get to Jordan, Blake Monroe runs down and makes the save, and the heels start to retreat. And as they are retreating, out comes Ava. Man, Ava was making a lot of matches tonight, and Ava announces that at the Great American Bash, we are going to have Fatal Influence, JC Jane and Fallon Henley, taking on Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe. So big match announced for that. So, I mean, my goodness, that means that Jordan and JC are going to be doing double duty that weekend, which we'll see if that plays into the story at all for their match at Evolution. And yeah, Blake Monroe making that debut there at the Great American Bash. So that's what took us off the air. Blake and Jordan being all buddy buddy, and the heels being very angry about it. So yeah, so you know what? That's a way to get Blake into in ring action here. Start with a tag match, and we'll see how that goes. Hmm, it'll be interesting because I was going to say, if Jordan is going over JC at Evolution, you think that JC and Fallon will win there, but do you want Mariah? Blake? Who's Mariah May? I don't know. But do you want Blake Monroe to be on, the losing side of a match this early in her NXT run? So it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do with that. But guys, that's NXT in a nutshell. That was, I think, a pretty strong ending. I prefer I prefer them to end on a match for the program. But if you're going to end with a main event segment as opposed to a formal match, this is the type of segment to do it with. It was solid. Jordan cut a great promo here. They did some work to establish her match with JC at Evolution. And they also set up for a match at the Great American Bash. This served a lot in a very short time. So good solid work here. As pre-taped episodes go, especially, this was a great NXT, considering that it was pre-taped and that I avoided reading spoilers for an entire week. Good for me. But obviously, I think NXT is good every week. But no, I think this was a good episode. And obviously, they would hold a bit back because next week is the go home show for the Great American Bash. And I think they've got a good show on paper next week. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And, like I said, we a week from Saturday is the bash. So we're it's close, guys. It's right around the corner. The biggest party of the summer. Or do they still say that? Or is that SummerSlam now? Or Summerfest, if you like. But guys, that is NXT. And I think that can take us into the jobber of the night tonight. It's my sad music. Yeah. All right. So my jobber, or should I say jobbers of the night, it's the Dark State. Like I touched on this earlier, but they've done so little and they've been off television so much. And it's just so damaging to their characters and their aura and their persona and just everything that they try to establish with them. And they really haven't been doing much. And if they're trying to maintain, it's like, oh, we've been pulling the strings from the background. I don't think that's I don't think that's good enough to save the damage that's been done from having them off of television so much. So yeah, collectively, Dark State is my jobber of the night tonight. Um, I'm not saying that it's not salvageable. I'm just saying that it's bad. It's rough right now. They're not in a good spot right now. They're definitely behind the eight ball. They need to do something pretty substantial to get them back on the track and path that they were on prior to all this start and stop and being off of television for so long. But so sorry, Dark State. Please don't attack me for saying that, but you are my jobbers of the night. But from the jobber of the night to happier places and greater pastures, we have the megastar of the night. Megastar of the night. And this was a tough one. I had a bunch of really good options to weigh here. A lot of folks looked really good here tonight. They achieved what they set out to achieve with either their promo segments or their in ring or matches, whatever. Everyone did what they were really supposed to do here tonight. But I have to give my megastar of the night to what I think was the upset win of the night. It's going to Yoshiki Inamura, the number one contender for the NXT Championship. He just continues to impress and delight me. There is just something about him that is just so infectiously joyful, yet so violent. Like it's interesting to me. It's just so cool that his character can walk this line of being just so genuine and warm and friendly. Like you want to hang out with him. He just seems like such like a kind, generous human being. But then in the ring, he hits so hard, so fast, so repetitively. It's such a cool dichotomy of this like ultra strong, ultra violent in ring persona with just kind, wonderful human. I love it. So Yoshiki Inamura undoubtedly is my megastar of the night. Really looking forward to his match at the Great American Bash with Obafemi. Again, I don't expect for Inamura to beat Oba, but I do expect it to be a just an absolute barn burner of a match. Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, guys, a wonderful episode of NXT. I want to thank you, as I always do, for tuning in and watching live and hanging out with myself and little Molly Holly here. I appreciate you guys tuning in live and watching on demand if that's your bag as well. No matter how you're watching it, I just appreciate that you tune in and hang out with us and talk some wrestling. And here's the thing: if you enjoyed what you saw here tonight, I've got some good news for you. Yeah, Dirt Sheet Radio isn't here just for NXT. No. Molly, when else are we here, huh? We're here Monday nights, typically, for Monday Night Raw. Obviously, Tuesday nights for NXT. We're here right now. Wednesday nights, well, that's when you can tune in to the Dirt Sheet Radio flagship program. And also, that will include, for free, the AEW Rewind as well. Tune in late on Wednesday nights for that. 2 shows for the price of 1, which is free, just like all of the other content we do here at Dirt Sheet Radio. Thursday nights, be sure to check out our sister program. That is the TNA Impact Rewind. And they are rocking and rolling every Thursday night, so be sure to tune in live for that. And then Fridays, of course, for SmackDown or SmackDown, if you like. On the weekends, guys, be sure to check out the 3NT crew every single Sunday. And when CJ and I can, we try to bring the Weekend Wrestling Roundup, but life be life, and we haven't been able to for a while. And y'all, if you're watching this live, if you could like, subscribe, hit the bell. If you're watching it in demand, do all those same things. I appreciate it. Dirt Sheet Radio appreciates it. If you could give DSR a follow on all social media platforms, that would be also greatly appreciated. And after you follow DSR, if you could give me, the Pro Wrestling Hipster, a follow over on Facebook, I'd appreciate that a lot. Molly also would appreciate that a lot. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in live and being here with me and Molly to talk NXT. Dirt Sheet Radio will be back again tomorrow night live. So be sure to tune in. And guys, we appreciate you. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Dirt Sheet Radio will be back tomorrow night. We'll see you then.